Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 Texas Republican Party Candidate Forum for State Chair Candidates. I'm David Brugel. I'm the incoming Republican Party Chairman for Lubbock County, joined today by Karen Post, former Chairman of Hale County, and her husband Wayne Post, our incumbent chair in Hale County, Texas. On the line tonight, but not speaking, is our State Republican Executive Committee man, Steve Evans. We thank you for his help in the back end on the technology. For those of you that are following us live on YouTube right now, we've got a group of wonderful Republicans sitting at Lubbock County Republican Party headquarters watching us. I want to take a brief moment to thank all of our 5 candidates for joining us tonight. We're super grateful for your willingness to serve our Republican Party. But you're not here to hear me speak tonight. Let's hear from our candidates. The candidates' names have been selected by random draw as far as what the speaking order is. And the first question is going to be simple. You have 4 minutes each to tell us about yourselves. Tell us why you're running. We're going to start tonight with Mike Garcia.
Okay. Howdy, folks. Yeah, Mike Garcia here. Wish I could be with all of y'all over in Lubbock, but it's good to be here on Zoom. Thank you, Mr. Chairman-elect, for putting this together. So running for state party chair, as y'all know, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself and then why I'm running. I met my wife through the pro-life movement 13 years ago. We were part of an organization called 40 Days for Life, and we stood outside of abortion clinics and we prayed most of the time. But when somebody would come around looking for that, my wife would talk to the woman and try her best to try to get her to rethink her decision. And then I would typically talk with the boyfriend or the husband or whoever it was that accompanied them. And my wife was very successful in saving several babies throughout that endeavor. And I just knew that I had to hold on to her. We were the 2 youngest folks in the club there. And so 13 years later, we have 4 kids. God has graced us with 4 kids. We've got a 5th one on the way. So we've got a jam-packed house at the house, but we do it all for the love of the kids and for the future of our state. I'm an attorney by trade. Please do not hold that against me. I've been blessed to do a lot of really cool things with my law degree. I've been licensed for almost a decade. And I teach constitutional law over at Concordia University, where I'm able to work in God into my lectures without any of the students accusing me of putting my thumb on the scales. That I don't have to deal with any wokeness. It's great. And I've also been able to use my law degree to serve in different capacities. I was the executive director and general counsel to the Texas Freedom Caucus for several years in the legislature, and I kind of helped shepherd that group. The session that I was executive director of that caucus, we passed bills such as constitutional carry, the beginnings of election integrity reform, DEI and CRT ban in public schools, and the first bill that banned men and women's sports from the K through 12 level. So I do have quite a bit of legislative experience. I've also been able to learn quite a bit about the House rules, which if you're involved in legislative politics, you know that we can use those rules to our advantage to kill Democrat bills that come to the House floor. And we can also use them to protect Republican bills from Democrat attacks on the House floor. So although that's not the main job of the chair, I would like to utilize that knowledge to the extent that I can in making sure that our legislative priorities are passed. A little bit about what I want to do as chair. My main focuses are going to be recruiting good candidates, which having served as Freedom Caucus director, I was on the phone with grassroots activists nearly daily for 3 years when I did that job. I know a lot of good folks around the state, I think, who just need a little bit of a nudge to put their name in to run for office. And I plan to do that. Obviously, fundraising is always key for the chair, and I'd love to elaborate on those in future questions on those plans. We need to win in November, right? My plan is to get President Trump the most amount of votes any presidential candidate has ever gotten in the state of Texas. And we really need to focus on Senator Cruz's race as well, because George Soros is pouring the money into Texas. And lastly, None of those three things matter if we don't focus on implementing the party platform and the legislative priorities into law during the legislative session. And again, that's where my expertise really would come through. And I promise you, if you elect me as chair, you'll never have to wonder where I am, because I will be in that building all day and all night long, making sure our priorities are getting through. So my website is Garcia for TexasGOP.com. I think I'm running close on time here. So if you want to learn more about me, please visit Garcia for TexasGOP.com, or feel free to give me a call. My phone number is area code 956 512-645-6978. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike. Next up, we're going to have Ben Armenta. Ben, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. Look, thank you guys very much for taking time on a Friday, on your weekends, to get together. It's really great to talk with all of y'all and introduce ourselves and share with you our vision and my vision for the Republican Party of Texas. So for those of you who haven't yet met, again, my name is Ben Armenta. I grew up in Round Rock, met my wife, Christy, at A&M. We've lived in the greater Houston area now for about 25 years, and we currently live in Katy. We got 2 kids, Lillian and Jack, and I'm the outsider in this race. You know, I'm the person with the business experience and the know-how to really run the Republican Party like a business, and that's a big part of who I am and my vision for the RPT. When I announced that I was running, I had several people reach out to me and ask why. And they said, look, you know, from where we sit, we've got every single statewide elected office as a Republican. We've got control of the House and the Senate, and things are going pretty good. We're a red pretty much everywhere. And I just had to be honest with them. I said, I just think your vantage point is all off. Yeah, we ended last calendar year with only $300,000 in our general funds. Folks talk about us having more money than that, but that's really not true. The money we have is pass-through money from federal accounts. We are broke. We only have 4 staffers. Some people say we've got 5. We really only have 4. You can go to the website and see that we've got one person whose name is listed twice, and it's not their fault. They're working extremely hard, double hatting, triple hatting, trying to do the best they can to serve all 254 counties. We just don't have the leadership who is willing to do the hard work, to raise the dollars, to put the infrastructure in place and the ground game in place, to partner with our county chairs and the SREC and our precinct chairs. It's broken right now, and it's time to fix those things. So I have extensive experience in business, but I also have been involved in politics for quite a while. I'm on the board of Hispanic Republicans of Texas, and I lead some of our outreach efforts all over Southeast Texas and even in the Rio Grande Valley, identifying candidates to support and coach and guide, block walk for candidates, phone bank for candidates. I lobbied for Texas Right to Life in Austin. I've been endorsed by Texas Right to Life. You know, I am a conservative through and through, and I put my money where my mouth is. You know, I support candidates financially, from school board races to commissioner to congressional races. It's an important part of who I am is giving back and helping ensure that we're advancing our conservative values. So I'm in this race for one primary goal, and that is to ensure that the RPT is mission focused on beating the Democrats. There's a lot of things that we can and should do. And I'll share ideas around how we'll fundraise, how we'll grow our base, how we'll add more folks to the ranks. I'll talk about how we can advance our legislative priorities. There's lots of good work. But at the end of the day, we all need one person in this state who wakes up every day obsessed about how we beat the Democrats, how we retain for generations our red seats, and how we go secure blue ones and bring them over to our side. There are people all around the state who will tell me, look, Austin's lost. Travis County, Harris County. I live one county outside of Harris County. Texas, all 254 counties are worth fighting for. So thank you guys very much. And I look forward to the next hour spending with you guys.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we'll have Abraham George.
Good evening, guys. I'm Abraham George. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, but I wanted to thank you guys for, spending your Friday night with us. We've been, earlier before we started recording, we've been talking about like, thank God it's Friday, but it's really not because it's been like 7 weeks of Mondays or something like that. But it's been great traveling all across state of Texas. You have no idea how big state of Texas is until you start driving from one end to the other, and it's wonderful. And thank you for putting this together, David, Karen, and Steve. You guys can see I'm an immigrant. I came to United States in 1996. Sorry, I'm sitting inside my car in my truck. I was at a event about an hour ago, and I'm going to the next one. So I'm in the middle of two events, and on the side of 35, and sitting in front of a Holiday Inn Express. So I came to the United States in 1996, the legal way, the right way. My parents applied for a visa when I was about 2 years of age, and we got the visa when I was 16. So it took a little bit of time, but we went through the process. We got to United States. I came to North Texas, Carrollton, and we settled there. My first job was I was 16. I found a job as a janitor's assistant at a manufacturing shop, and it was one of the wonderful things that I could do because when you come to a new country, you build a life from there to today. I own a small business. We build software systems for healthcare. We're based out of Plano, and we've been in business for about 14 years now. And married, 2 kids, been married for about 20 years now, 19 years or so. I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. And I grew up as a preacher's kid. My dad's a Pentecostal pastor. By the way, in Lubbock, we have a special connection. My sister and brother-in-law used to live there and work at Midland Memorial and all of that. So I've been to Lubbock way too many times in the last 4 years, drive from North Texas. It's wonderful to have so many good candidates running for a state chair. What makes me different? People ask me that just like they were asking every single one of these candidates, like why you? What makes you different from others? My experience in politics started from when Obama ran for office, and every minority was kind of expected to support him because he's black, and I didn't like that, and I pushed back on that in my community, in my church. Then got involved in Pete Sessions' campaign, and about 2020 or so, I was way too involved in politics. They asked me to run for SREC, and I did. At the Zoom convention we had in 2020, I was elected at the middle of the night into SREC and from Senate District 8, and I was able to serve with Steve Evans and so many wonderful people. I did that for 2 years. Then I became the county chair for Collin County Republican Party. I'm probably the only candidate, I think I'm the only candidate who can say I've raised over $700,000 for the Republican Party in the last 2 years. That's what we did with Collin County. It was wonderful time doing that. We were able to hold elected officials accountable while we were doing that. We didn't take a lot of money from them. We took money from the grassroots, from a good group of people who wanted to advance Republican priorities. Matt Rinaldi has endorsed me. Ken Paxton has endorsed me. So many great grassroots type of elected officials like Nate Schatzline to Steve Toth and people like that have endorsed me. Angela Paxton. So that's a little bit about me. I'll tell you a little bit more. I think my 4 minutes it's about there, right? Am I right? Yeah. So thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Abraham. Next up, we have RPT Vice Chair Dana Myers.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. I think you've heard from all of us that we appreciate your time on a Friday. For those of you who I haven't met, I've met many of you in Lubbock, having been up in the Panhandle quite a bit. knowing that you are our red rural wall that we have to protect, as well as East Texas. As your vice chairman for the past 2 years, it's been an honor and privilege to travel around the state, learning from every grassroots organization and county chair and precinct chair that I've run into and spoken with and trained about what's going on in the state. As I mentioned before by my cohorts here, 254 counties, and we are such an important large state. Besides being your vice chair for the past 2 years, I'm also a small business owner. In my real life, I was a retired trauma surgeon, and then moved into medical manufacturing and building, such as emergency centers, other such large group development. So I've had to do capital raises before, and it's also developed companies that I've taken overseas and international. So from a business standpoint, I also have a large amount of business experience that we've brought to things we've done. Also, probably the proudest title I have is an Aggie mom, and for that's one of the real reasons that I'm doing this job. Not only to make sure that we leave a Texas that's safer and stronger for our children and all children, but to make sure that we protect our Texas legacy. Not only our votes going into the presidency in the fall, which we'll touch on briefly in the future, I'm sure, in questions, but also what it means to be a Texan. I have been extensively involved in Republican politics since I was little. My grandmother started me in that with door knocking and learning how to do postcards. But really got involved in leadership positions and was asked to run for various things back in 2017. Everything from co-chair of engagement in Harris County Republican Party, and then moving into the vice chair role there under two different chairmen, then becoming VP of membership for Texas Federation of Republican Women, which I was asked to run for because of my extensive experience traveling the state and working on putting more conservative plugs into the Texas Federation of Republican Women. From there, I actually was drafted and asked by the grassroots to run for vice chair of the state party, and have been working extensively. My goals when I ran, and I have stated that, are election integrity, border security, and making sure that our county chairs and our precinct chairs are trained, not only with the things that we talk about, but having access to the latest tools and data to make sure that we enable them to do their jobs, because it's one of the most thankless jobs in the party. It's become a very active precinct chair and a county chair. And you all are at the tip of the spear as far as how we get our message out to Texans. And one thing that became apparent over the Christmas holidays, I was getting calls from many people concerned about the lack of election integrity planning for the November election. Between that and the fact that we were not having training programs readily available for our precinct chairs and county chairs, people started calling me and asking me to run for this office. So after careful consideration, that's why I'm doing this. I do have a combination of skill sets from doing these various jobs, not only in Harris County, but across the state now for a few years, and seeing what we need to develop firsthand on the ground is one of the things that I can bring to this, as well as already being out there training precinct chairs, county chairs, and election workers and poll watchers for November. How am I doing on time?
Danny, you've got just about one extra minute.
Okay, because I can keep talking, but essentially, as we build the party, there is a lot to do before November, and I'm reminding everyone, we have 5 months after this convention is over to make sure that we build, and I mean build from the ground up, a fully functional party with get out the vote, voter registration, with training, and making sure that both Senator Cruz and President Trump are reelected in 2024. That is probably the utmost priority, and then we will pivot after that into legislative priorities that will be voted on by the delegation at convention. But I think right now I have a 30-day, a 5-month, and a 2-year strategic plan that I'll get into later as we ask questions or answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but definitely not least, we have joining us Weston Martinez. Weston, can you hear us here today? Give us just a moment. We've got to get Weston's mic live.
There you go. How's that?
There we go. We can hear you now, Weston. Weston, go ahead and take 4 minutes. Introduce yourself. Tell us why you're running, Glad to have you here.
First of all, thank you guys for putting this thing together. Weston Martinez, and from San Antonio, Texas, home of the Alamo, where we know how to draw a line in the sand and fight tyrants, whether they're in our own backyard or they're in foreign lands. And, regretfully and thankfully, we've been here before, and we know how to get out of this mess, and that is by unleashing the grassroots. That's what Sam Houston did. That's what our fathers of freedom did here in Texas. They armed and unleashed the grassroots. And that's what I'm going to do as chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. If you want to see my background, you can go look at the endorsement letter that Sid Miller emailed to everyone in Texas that details my professional and political background. What I'd like to get into is what we're going to do. If we don't secure our elections, we're never going to secure our border, and we're never going to beat George Soros. And no one has been fighting voter fraud and fighting against voter fraud in this race than I have. And I'm thankful for the people that have been working on it. God bless them for their efforts. It's needed. We all need to do it. I worked with Project Veritas to get the woman arrested that made national news, who was arrested in San Antonio, and worked with Ken Paxton's office to be part of the fastest arrest in the history of Texas for voter fraud. And that lady was later dismissed because we had some rogue judges that actually came in and said that, sorry, there's two people in that one little column there. We had some rogue judges that came in there and said that the Attorney General could no longer prosecute voter fraud in Texas. And when that happened, I went to work, like other people did in Texas, the grassroots, to help get those judges out. And we can see that we've got a different electorate going into the Court of Criminal Appeals. But there are some key things that we need to do in order to secure our elections. Folks, I've been for securing our primaries and closing our primaries since Mitt Romney was running for president. We need to, I know how to get us back to precinct level voting and not have countywide voting anymore. Get rid of the machines, get back to paper ballots, sequentially numbered ballots, and make sure that people that are either from out of the state or out of the country can no longer vote in our primaries. And there's some key things that I've talked about on the campaign trail, and I'm glad to see other people are picking up on it. But there's some very important things we can do there. For example, I had a good video with Senator Bob Hall the other day, y'all can look it up, but where we talked about calling on the Secretary of State to eliminate the waiver that allows countywide voting. Folks, we can go to precinct level voting now. We don't have to wait for the legislature to do that. That can happen administratively. And so we're excited about leading the way in those efforts. There's also 29 other ballot-related waivers that the Secretary of State can eliminate that will bring accountability to the process. You see, folks, knowing what's going on and knowing how to fight it is not by accident. When we look at what's taking place, not only in San Antonio, but in Tarrant County, in Collin County, I mean, they've got problems all over the place, and we have to go in there and fight it. Getting those elections secured is what we need to do. Additionally, I've talked about running this place like a business. Being a statewide real estate commissioner for almost 7 years, taking that agency from the dark ages into the modern times, where we are concerned about our customers internally and externally, is something that I will do in this organization. We need to make sure that we're equipping the grassroots, make sure that the grassroots have the equipment needed, make sure that they can ride herd over our legislators so that they pay attention to the planks of our platform and the things that we have that they need to honor as far as being Republicans in the state of Texas. I have talked about not wasting $250,000 in rent that our Republican leadership has allowed to take place, and we need to own our own building. Today, at a forum that some of these gentlemen, some of the people were present at, I made a comment that we also need to move the headquarters out of Travis County so that the liberal Travis County DEA cannot treat the elected officials within the Republican Party like the DC lawyers are treating Trump. If we do that, they will no longer be able to sue us in court in Travis County. And Williamson County is just about 15 minutes up the road. And we've already talked to some landowners that are pretty excited about having the foot traffic of the Republican Party of Texas in their backyard. We will still maintain a satellite presence in Austin, but I guarantee you, we know enough people in Austin, we can just borrow some office space and not have to pay for it. You see, when we equip the grassroots, then they will be able to take care of people like Speaker Dave Phelan, and they won't be able to get out a check. We have to do that if we're going to actually start beating George Soros. And my other plan that I've talked about briefly is to go in there and create what I call the EMI project, which is endorsing down ballot nonpartisan candidates across the state of Texas, an ambassador program that take each and every one of you and appoints you to an ambassadorship within local and state government as a mirror to those agencies, so that we can actually begin to excite the base, educate the voters that are there, and make sure that we go in there and make Texas redder than it has been. I'm pro-life, pro-gun, pro-family, pro-Israel. I've got Sid Miller's endorsement. I've got Patriot Academy founder Rick Green's endorsement. We're adding Ted Nugent's endorsement to that list today, along with many other grassroots leaders across the state of Texas, because we've only got one shot to save America, and it's a place called Texas. I really appreciate you guys having us today.
Thank you so much, Weston. Next up, I want to take a moment, and I want to thank my team here in Lubbock. We've got Steve Evans running things on the background. And at party headquarters, I've got our SREC representative, Linda Hogue, and Clay Grossman from my team as well. So thank you to you all for putting together our watch party there at headquarters. We're going to take just a moment here and resolve a technical difficulty. Sounds like we're having with the audio, per some of the comments I'm getting. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so we're going to take just a moment here, figure that out, and come right back.
Sure, you should be muted. That's all right, just roll with it.
Okay.
Do tell Weston.
See if you can hear me right now. But you got the audio in your ear, don't you?
Yeah, but it takes about 30 seconds.
Because you'd be hearing it. All right, so I'm going to talk, and we're going to see if you can hear me on the stream right now.
While we're waiting, I hope you guys have been having a good time on the road. Hope everybody's been careful driving around.
Yeah, you're still live.
That's so strange. Here, take a look at my system here.
Always fun driving around Texas.
Just
Yeah. Oh, okay, everyone, we're back. We do have a strange microphone situation, so you're just going to hear everything I say, so I'm just going to be as quiet as I can for the rest of the hour. Next, we're going to go to Karen and Wayne Post. They are our Hale County contingent. They're going to ask the next 3 questions for us. And so, without further ado, I give you Karen Post, former Hale County Chairman.
Thank you, David. Question number 2 will start off with Ben, and then it will go to Mike, Abraham, Dana, and Weston, in that order, for question number 2. Folks, as chairman, how would you work to unite Texas Republicans ahead of the coming critical general election?
Thank you, Karen. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, Ben. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, we have a daunting task in front of us in the next 6 months. If we lose Senator Cruz's seat, we are significantly at risk. We will lose the filibuster. We will put at risk packing the Supreme Courts. It is a significant challenge ahead. His opponent is way more formidable than Beto was, and he only beat Beto by 2.5 percentage points. And we all know that we desperately need Donald Trump's policies, and you do not get Donald Trump's policies without Donald Trump. Getting that election done is a top priority. The good news is that unifies all across the Republican Party. You see, when you believe that the real enemy and the real focus is the Democrats, we can all come together. That is something we can all work towards. And so when you're building a team, you have to have shared outcomes, shared goals. You have to know what everybody's roles and responsibilities are. You have to empower the people on the front lines and give them the resources they desperately need to go execute, and give them some autonomy to be creative to getting it done. That's in my plan. I'm going to be working to ensure that our entire party is rowing in the same direction, that we all know what those near-term priorities are. That in and of itself is going to coalesce everybody. We also need to put the primaries and put the runoffs in the rearview mirror, because they will be here in the next couple of weeks. We've got to come together. I travel by the end of this race, I'll have been to over 120 different counties. I'll have met with tens of thousands of people. And one of the important roles of the chairman is being a connector, helping counties that are in West Texas that have similar challenges and opportunities as counties that are in North Texas or East Texas or South Texas, getting them together to put similar solutions in place, figure out what's working in our blue counties and have them collaborate together. That's the role of the RPT. Facilitate, collaborate, get focused, not get spread too thin. Less is more when it comes to winning. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ben. Mike, what are your ideas?
Yes. Yeah, so it's a good question because it's clear, if you go to any Republican club, that there's quite a bit of division in our party. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good that we kind of find it out sometimes, because it shows that we're thinking. It shows that we're not all walking in lockstep like the Democrats are. We're smart, right? And there's different ways of going about things. I do think we can do it respectfully and with civility. And I think that is the key to making sure that we all kind of get together behind whoever we choose as nominees going toward November, because Ben is correct, right? We have to remember that the Democrats are the real people that we're fighting here. We're 11 seats away from losing the Texas House of Representatives, and we lost 12 seats in 2018. So it's not a completely unprecedented event. So we do have to be unified. Now, I think the way to do that is, as with any relationship, constant communication is key. When I was director of the Texas Freedom Caucus, we had a call. It was a bi-weekly call every 2 weeks with grassroots leaders and other grassroots folks across the state. And we'd get on the phone. We'd get them on the phone with legislators in the caucus, and we'd talk it out. And we'd check with them. Hey, is everything we're doing on these legislative priorities that you all told us you want us to pass, is that looking good on your end? If not, what can we do to change it? What can we do to make it better? And we would talk it out like Republicans are supposed to do. But I don't think that not having that communication is the way forward. I think even with the tough issues that sometimes get very heated, we need to have those conversations. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that the Democrats are going to take advantage of the fact that we're not having those conversations, and we will lose. So that won't happen under my watch. We will talk to each other, and we will have those tough conversations. And that is my basic plan to make sure we're doing that in a unified way.
Thank you.
Karen, before we move on, I need to give a brief housekeeping detail. So
Please.
When we were putting this together, we're experimenting with some new technology we haven't worked with, right? So I don't have a polite way to keep time today. So I'm going to be running a timer on this end. Unfortunately, I am going to have to rudely come in and cut you off whenever your time has expired. So we're going to start doing that. I've been trying to find a better way to do it, but for today, that's just the method. So apologies in advance for whoever I cut off this evening. Just be aware.
Can you remind us how much time we have per question?
Yeah, so these are going to be shorter questions. These are 2 minutes each. Karen, go ahead and carry on. Thank you.
Mike,
Karen, am I next?
Abraham next, please.
Okay. Well, thank you for the question. I think it's one of the most important questions you can ask today for Republican Party here in Texas. I have to say, the reason why Republicans are dissatisfied with the party, it's not just the unity part of it. Many things the party is looking like, well, we don't do enough. And it comes from a emotion that, okay, why are you not holding elected officials accountable? Why is our party not doing enough to close the border? Why do we still put Democrats in committee chairs. People are looking at us, and because we have the House, we have the Senate, we have the governor's office. Every elected office in the state of Texas, statewide office, is held by us. Yet we can get our priorities done. Over the past years with Matt Rinaldi and few months with Alan West, party have taken a drastic move to start to hold elected officials accountable, and it's a great thing. And now we are starting to see, well, there are some people who are unhappy with that, but most of the Republicans, if you ask any Republican, I would say 99.99% of the Republicans will say we need to close the border. Most of them will say we need to close. We cannot put any Democrats in committee chairs. But yet our elected officials still go and do that. When party actually do things that matters to the people in the state of Texas, we will have unity by itself, because now we're all we're all looking for the same goal. We are starting to see some results that we've been waiting for years. So 2024 election, November election, I think people are only going to get excited if they can see a party chairman who is more than happy to, in fact, excited, not only to elect Republicans, but hold them accountable. And the SREC members coming and doing the same thing. When the county chairs start to do that, when the precinct chairs feels like they have the power to censure a Republican who doesn't do what they're supposed to do. So it's my goal is, as the state chairman, is to take the party to a level where the party is much more stronger than the elected class. Today, we are told that we're supposed to be the cheerleading team for the elected class. That's not true. They run on our ticket, and they need to start to understand that our priorities supposed to be their priorities. So that's having that right messaging. It's what makes the party come together, in my opinion.
Thank you, Abraham. Dana, your thoughts?
I think as far as uniting the party, what I often remind people is we're united in purpose. Doesn't mean we're all thinking the same way. It means that we're all working in the same direction. I also go back to the tenet that I think all politics is local, and what you start with is local relationships. Why that's important as the state chair, it's very important for the state chairman or chairwoman to actually go out and meet Texans. And that doesn't mean in the Austin bubble. It doesn't mean in certain metroplex areas. That means getting out and meeting the people in their location around the state. And that's what I've been doing the past 3.5 years. 2 years as vice chair, but 1.5 years prior to that because of land commissioner's race with my husband, John. The reason that's important is because we are like 5 different countries. Every region has its own flavor, it has its own concerns, it has its own priorities, and I think there's a way to make all of that work together. Again, uniting in purpose, because we all want to protect Texas. One of the things that will help, besides having personal relationships with not only the precinct chairs and the county chairs and a lot of the grassroots leaders across Texas, which I've worked very hard on as being a person of my word and making sure that we talk openly and often to talk about our disagreements or where we can work together. It's also about having regional meetings across the state so that people can actually get together with their SREC, their county chairs in a region of Texas and discuss what's going on in their area. It not only opens up the ear for conversation, but it also allows people to work together so that they're using their time more efficiently, they're using their money for their organizations more effectively, and they're going to probably find there's a lot of things that they're working on together, but actually using their volunteers and the organizations together, they will actually move the ball farther because they don't have to start over from ground zero. Anyway, I think there's a lot of things we can do, but really it starts with personal relationships. And I am a person who has been developing those across the state. And I will say it reflects the entire spectrum of Republican values. I think I'm very excited about the future. I know everyone sees the importance of Texas and they understand what's at stake for November. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Weston.
The answer is simple. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I didn't see the green square. Start the clock over. The answer is simple. You invest in the grassroots. And when you invest in the grassroots, then you will be able to have them realize that they will return to do things like investing in the party. That is how we do it. You run it like a business. You realize that we have internal customers, we have external customers. Look, we've got counties without a county seat, and we've got precinct chairs that are unfilled across the entire state of Texas. But you want to see the people unify? You do things like I've been doing, like hosting property tax protest seminars around the state of Texas so that we can educate our leaders on how they can talk to their neighbors about a very political issue and inspire them to go do something else and to build that relationship so that we can help people realize how government's out of control. Or like I went to El Paso and went to Beto O'Rourke's house, as you've seen on my YouTube channel, that we went over there and, you know, we did a Happy Warrior video where I said, hey, there's no illegal aliens in this guy's front yard. I thought he was for illegal immigration. You see, we have common enemies. And as chair, we need to go after those common enemies and do things right. And if we do things like that, you'll see unity galvanize in the body like you haven't seen in decades. And when we do things like I talked about earlier, about actually not wasting money on rent and actually investing in one of the biggest investments we all know about in real estate so that we can fund parties across the state of Texas and have resources for them, that inspires people and that breeds unity. When you do things like talk about eliminating countywide voting and going back to the security of precinct level voting, that breeds unity. And that is how we equip the grassroots to be able to go after rogue agents, no matter what level of government they are. And we empower them so that they can actually be the solution and not look at the party as somehow like, you know, we're, like they serve us. No, as chairman, we serve the people. And I'm the only one that's calling for term limits for the chairman of the Republican Party. Why? Because we need to have people be involved. We don't need to block this thing. We also need to not only have term limits in this, but we need to have pure sunshine in the process. We need to make sure that people know what they're doing, know how to get it done, and know how to hold their team accountable. I can't tell you how many calls I get from different areas. How do we do this? How do we do that? How do we do parliamentary procedure? Those are some of the key things. And another bit of unity that I'll unload for you guys tonight. As chairman, I am going to disclose every contract that we sign with every election official across the state of Texas. We're no longer going to be doing contracts in the dark. We're not going to let the liberal left negotiate with us in a way that the other 254 counties don't know what's going on. When we do things like that, we're going to breed unity because we are unified in what we're doing to get Donald Trump elected, get Republicans elected, and move that margin of victory that's barely at like 51.2% in November from our last election, where it used to be, when it used to be at 58, 59%. And as chair, people know that they're excited about me, and that's why they're voting for Weston Martinez.
Thank you. The third question we're going to have will be done by my other half, Wayne Post. And the order for this question, folks, will be Mike, you'll be number one. Dana, you'll be the second. Weston, you'll be third. Ben, you'll be fourth. And Abraham, you'll be fifth. Wayne Post.
Good evening, folks. Thank you for coming. The question is going to be, how do you think the state party should interact with Texas legislature and other government institutions? Mike?
Sure. Yeah. So at the very basis of that, and thank you, Mr. Post, for that question. At the very basis, I think we have to remind legislators that they ran under the banner of the Republican Party, right? For the life of me, I studied Texas history a lot, and I've been looking for this quote, and I haven't been able to find it, but it's from one of our governors from about 150 years ago. And even then, they were talking about how legislators had to stick to the party that they ran under. It had to do with supporting the party platform. And I think we have to remind legislators that they do stand, they're supposed to stand for that platform. Now, I do think that we should that we should respect legislators and that they've been elected constitutionally by their constituents. I'm a big constitutionalist, right? But we have to do it in a way that reminds them that there are certain principles and policies they must follow. I hear a little bit of a hint of how do we hold them accountable in that question? And when they do kind of go off the reservation, I think we have to also remind them that, hey, you're in the red zone here, and if you get any farther, you're risking censorship, or you're risking complete disassociation with the party, which at its basis is what censorship is. And we can't be afraid to do that, but we have to give them an objective standard by which to go by. We have to make sure that we're not holding them accountable for minute disagreements, but rather for legislators that come out as not pro-life, legislators that refuse to hold the line on our traditional views of marriage. Those are things that we cannot lose as a party, because the Supreme Court is kind of ripe for turning a lot of these decisions around, as we've seen with the Dobbs decision recently for abortion. And I firmly believe they'll turn around on the Obergefell marriage decision soon. So we can't give any of that ground up. We have to hold the line, and they have to know that we're serious about that. And that's how we interact with them. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Dana, you're up.
I think one of the things that we do, not only as a party, but as a state chair, is, again, going back to the relationships developed, make sure that we are representing the party values and our planks and our principles, and having a very clear idea of the conversations and the boundaries that we're going to have with our electeds. Obviously, many of them are doing what they're supposed to, and every now and then we'll have some people that are straying and may need to be reminded of our party principles. I do believe, though, however, one, that if you have strong relationships with these people to start with, that hopefully we will avoid all that in the get-go, knowing that that is not 100% and that is not a pie in the sky ideal. When we have issues, I do very much believe in the Matthew principle. We should be having a lot of these conversations in private to start. I do believe that making sure that they understand that the party has a different standpoint on approach than that they may be doing, and this is where conflict may arise. Have those conversations in private. If it doesn't work the first time, bring witnesses so that you actually have documented that we've essentially issued a nice warning. And then if there is not a pattern of behavior that will follow the party principles, then as already been discussed, censure is possible. I do not think that it should be used lightly or extravagantly. I do think that it's a very rare thing that should be done, and it should emanate out of the counties. But going back to the very beginning, I think that if we're very effective at our job and able to run elections and help people get elected, then they will see the benefit of the party and want us to participate with them as much as we will want to participate with them in legislative session. So I think there's a balance there that we can strike that makes us very effective. But again, it is based on relationships and effectiveness for both parties.
Thank you, Dana. Weston?
Being a PK without a record and being a pastor as, executive pastor of a large church in San Antonio, I can tell you that these legislators, they know what they've done. We've gone to them in private. We've gone to them in public. And for those people that think somehow that they're going to give us more favor than the lobbyists do, I'd encourage you to go to Florida and be the mayor of Disney World. We have a lot of things that are going on. And if we want to hold them accountable, then we need to unleash the grassroots and let them be able to hold these people accountable. I mean, the fact that we have to send busloads of people down there on a daily basis to be able to hold these legislators accountable, it's grotesque. And part of the reason why is, you need to realize elected officials only fear three things: people, votes, and money. Why do you think there's organizations and institutions that are out there raising millions of dollars to push an agenda that is directly against the grassroots? Even organizations like TLR that used to be with the grassroots in a lot of different things, but now is very much gone rogue. And when we have the biggest political meeting on the planet with the convention of the Republican Party of Texas, and we take the democratic process time to vote in planks of our platform and principles of our platform, and the elected officials scoff at them, we know there's a problem. And the way we go in there and fix that is we equip the people. That's why when I talk about the Nehemiah project, my ambassador project, getting people the actual equipment and data so they don't have to go to a consultant, to go get information. They can actually go knock on 10 doors in their neighborhood, know who they're talking to, and have them call their legislators. Those of us that have been involved in the process for years, we can almost tell you how many phone calls it takes to get a state rep to move from no to undecided or to vote not present, right? There's all kinds of things that we see happen if you really are involved in the process. So when we're looking at this, these legislators, they need to realize it's the people's government, not the government's people. And when you have a chair that has fought in the trenches like I have for over 20 years, when I wasn't running for chair, when I wasn't looking for the vote of the delegates that are going to be in San Antonio, my hometown, those are the kind of people. Take all these names, take all of our names, Google voter fraud, Google border security, Google everything with gender modification. Go check those things out. See who's been doing what. And if they weren't around when we had people yelling "Hail Satan," in our Texas legislature, I mean, God bless them for getting involved now. But I hope they stay involved after the race, because we got a lot of work to do. But we can't have this fantasy somehow that the legislature is just going to listen to us. We have to work hard and activate the grassroots, and that's what I'll do.
Thank you, Weston. Ben, you're up.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We are operating right now in a bit of an upside down world. The government does belong to the people. And when we elect our legislators, we are lending them our power. And we're expecting them, whether they're going to commissioner's court or Austin or DC, we're expecting them to be good stewards of that power. But the second they get there, the horse trading begins. The legislators have all equal power on the first day in session. But the second they elect a speaker, they are giving away the power that we have all lent to them. And they're giving that to the speaker. And instead of the speaker serving them and serving the rest of us, they are all serving the speaker's agenda. And that's the world we live in right now. And so accountability is unbelievably important. And activating the grassroots is key. And the way that you do that is you take resources from the party and you ensure that every corner of the state has the ability to get to Austin and look at people in the eyes. Politics is still a relationship business. And people need to know that the individuals that put them in office are expecting outcomes. Nobody's talking about outcomes. They're going there and doing whatever it is that the speaker says that they're going to do. It's time to make sure that the grassroots, that their voice is amplified across the entire legislature. Now, I believe the role of the chair and the RPT is not to legislate. I think that's an insult to all the voters. I think all the voters know who's best to represent them and work hard to figure that out. It's not the job of the chair to pick winners and losers in the primaries. It's the job of the chair to make sure that whomever gets picked by the constituents in every single district gets elected and beats the Democrats. And so that's what I'm going to do. But we do need to make sure that the legislative priorities come to fruition. Everything's backwards again. It's upside down. Governor Patrick already 2 weeks ago did his call on priorities and what he wants the senators to work on. Speaker Phelan did the same thing a week ago. The convention hasn't even met. We're still 2 weeks away from the convention. The collaboration to come together and figure out what it is that we want to get done, in which the legislators also are putting their fingerprints on the priorities shoulder to shoulder, is completely missing. I've met with numerous legislators all across the state of Texas and said, if you were invited to the table, would you come and work these priorities with the delegates? Would you come and work them with the grassroots? And of course, they all say yes. But if we ensure that they understand that the R by their name is earned, and not just given when they file their fee away, then they will start to come to the table and work with us. So that'll be a big part of my plan and approach going forward.
Thank you, Ben. Abraham.
Thank you guys for the question. Ultimately, it comes down to the question is, how do you work with the legislators? How do you work with the elected officials? So we have in the state of Texas, we have not just legislators, we have other elected officials. I've had the opportunity to work with Greg Abbott's office as the chairman of the party, work with our county commissioners, many county commissioners across the state, actually, because we had some things that we want to get done and throughout the state, and worked with the governor's office and many other elected officials' office. And so it is a relationships game, and it needs to be there. But it also means when someone calls the legislator's office or texts the House rep or the senator, they also need to have this feeling, okay, I need to answer this call. I need to talk to this person. We have legislators who wouldn't respond to most of the people because they don't feel like it matters to them. This person matters to them. So what gives the person, the chairman of the Republican Party, the power? It's the ability to not only elect a person, because we do have to do that, have the resources, the grassroots, the party apparatus built, but also the ability to say, well, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and we have to work on this. If not, we've got to hold you accountable. And doing that, I mean, are you not happy that Dade Phelan is in a runoff? And Republican Party of Texas did that. They put someone up to run against him, and they pushed him to a runoff. And now the Speaker of the House doesn't go into runoff like that. They usually win, especially when they bring in millions of dollars. So when you have a speaker, when you have a leader like that, who will go against the party platform and the priorities, the party have the right, and not just the right, the obligation to go and say, no, we're gonna replace you because you ran on our brand. The Republican brand belongs to the people, not to some elected official. So once they get elected, they hold that for a couple of years, then they had to get reelected. It's not a permanent position. Just like party chairman, the party chairman's job is not just to come and be a cheerleader. Their job is to, yes, be a cheerleader as long as the players are playing for our team. If they're going to put on our Cowboys jersey and play for the Eagles, the Cowboys cheerleading team is not going to cheer for them. So it matters the context matters a lot. And that's the difference between myself and a lot of these, most of these candidates, is that I not only want to elect a person to the office, I want to hold them accountable and make sure they do their job. If not, we've got to find someone else who will do it, because a personality, including myself, doesn't matter. People cannot remember who was the House rep 10 years ago if it's not the incumbent, because people move on, but the party and the principles stay on, and that's what we need to focus on.
Okay, thank you, Abraham. Next question will be asked by Karen as the third and final question.
Thank you, everybody. The order will be Abraham will be first, Weston second, Mike third, Dana fourth, and Ben fifth. The fourth question is, what are some challenges the Republican Party currently faces, and what solutions do you propose for those problems? Abraham.
Thank you. I think one of the major problems that we have today is we have Democrats coming over to our primary and electing the most moderate Republican they can possibly think of. We've seen this. So closing the primary is a major issue for us. We need to do that. I believe if you're running as a Republican, you should be elected by the Republicans. That's it. It's a very simple thing. The second major issue that I wanted to look at is election integrity. Elections, grassroots have lost their faith in our elections. Like it or not, machines, we cannot, we don't know what's happening with the machines, because we put in our ballot into the machine and the county tells us this person one, we don't have a way to audit these things. We have to come back to a place where either we have the machine that we can audit properly or go back to paper ballot. It's a very simple thing. We've done it before. It's not hard to do. Go back to paper ballot in a precinct level voting system. So the third one is we've got to hold our elected officials accountable to our priorities. And that, again, goes back to the previous question of building a relationship and holding them accountable. It's the carrot and sticks thing. So the fourth one I would say is fundraising. Fundraising is an important part of Republican Party's chairman's job and vice chair's job. They need to be able to do that. I'm the only guy in this race who can say we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Republican Party in the last 2 years. Uh, we've done that through building relationships, working with grassroots. Our money did not, Collin County's money did not come from big donors. We didn't have any big donors. It came from regular people, precinct chairs. We built enough programs to do that. We have to have a database. We currently have one. We need to clean that up. We got to make that available. Building that apparatus is one of the most important things we have to do. I currently, as a former chair of the Collin County, what we did is we built a CRM system where every volunteer who came into the Republican Party of Collin County were tagged in for a specific task, as in someone wants to do a poll greeting, someone wants to do poll watching. So it's all tagged. When we needed someone, we can reach out to them. Currently, Collin County GOP's database has more than 5,000 volunteers. Not everyone's going to be active, but it is already built. And a county party can do that, the state party able to do that, and a lot more. So building that database, that's my background. I'm a techie. I want to build that database for entire party of the state of Texas, for every county, every precinct chair, and every grassroots activist can come and look at and build that and move our priorities forward using our data. So those are some of the major problems or major task that's ahead of us, and that's the building this apparatus is what's going to get us more victories in 24 and 26 and 28, because we've got to look forward to not just this election cycle. We've got to look for next 15 years.
Thank you. Weston.
When we look at what's taking place here in the state of Texas, when we look at the problems that are taking place, if we don't return integrity to the ballot, and if we don't return trust to the ballot, people are going to stop showing up. We're already being, eaten alive by the Democrats, who are very organized, who have done a great job at messaging, a great job at unifying, and we have not done that type of job. And that's where I will take this organization, I'll run it like a business, and make sure that we actually do the brand management that we need to do. When we look at unleashing the grassroots and unleashing the biggest political weapon in the history of war, I've talked about that and talked about concrete plans on how you do that. But until you secure the elections, you're not going to have people that are going to be very excited about doing it. So doing that is key. That is the first and foremost thing we need to do. That's why when you look at what I've talked about, no one else has talked about doing those things. And so if we take the precinct chairs and we actually treat them like the internal customers they really are, and invest time in them, invest in them having the proper tools, equipment, and training, as I've said, then they will actually be able to go out there and do the job necessary. Somebody asked a question: should big donors be able to control what's happening? And I said no. I said the grassroots of Texas are not for sale. If a big donor wants to give money, then as long as it matches up with the planks of the party, okay, we'll take it. But if not, we don't need their money. Too many times we let individuals drive what's taking place versus the grassroots. There are many times when those objectives are aligned, but we need to align those objectives and move it forward. When we were out there fighting the gender modification bill, we couldn't even get legislators to come out there and talk about it. And there's many people that wouldn't come out there and talk about it at all. When we had the COVID shot, go back and look at these people that are running for chair. I'd like to know how many of y'all took the shot, how many of y'all worked against people getting mandatorily vaxxed. That's a good question that should be asked, because when freedom was on the line, what did you do? That is how we solve the problems within the Republican Party. That will solve the people being involved at the local level, our precinct chairs, And that'll also help solve the funding problem that we have. The money that we have in the party right now, thank God for Senator Ted Cruz and the money that he put into the Republican Party of Texas. That money will be earmarked for his get out the vote efforts, which we desperately need. And we look forward to there being some coattails along with that money. But we have to invest in our internal leadership. We have to unify our party, unify our message, stop wasting money on things like liberal Austin downtown rent, which our party leadership has done. And those are some of the key things that will, again, unify us so we can solve the problem. But if it doesn't start with getting rid of the machines, securing the elections, closing the primaries, going back to paper ballots, sequentially numbered ballots, all those things. When I worked with Veritas, like I said earlier, to get that lady arrested for voter fraud that made the national news, I was shocked at how many ballots that they had worked on across the state of Texas in a very, very unsophisticated way. And there's more information we'll be bringing out about that that'll help us go to closed primaries.
Hey,
but
Weston.
everything's around that.
Thank you. I have to close you down now. Mike.
Yes. So problems in our party and how to solve them. Obviously fundraising is an issue. I think we need to come up with some more creative ways of fundraising, and that's not a knock on the current leadership of the party. There's many reasons why people aren't opening up their pocketbooks. Inflation is out of control. Even $25 to somebody is a lot these days. One idea that I've really been mulling on and running by folks is that if we just get every single person who voted in the 2020 general election to donate $1 to the party, we would have $5.3 million. And if we got them to donate $1 a month, right, $12 a year, we'd have $60 million in our bank account. Maybe that's a little bit of a lofty goal, but I think the psychological aspect of asking somebody to donate $1, if you ask me to donate $1 and I think it's for a good cause, I'm actually more likely to donate $20. So we got to be creative about fundraising. Election integrity, like other folks have said, is another problem. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, where election integrity is a problem, and I thought it was just kind of in South Texas until in 2020, in the immediate aftermath of the election. Within 48 hours of the election, I was on a plane to Pennsylvania to help the Trump legal team figure out what happened in Pennsylvania. And I realized then that the Democrat Party had outsourced their tactics across the nation. So we've got to close the primaries, and we've got to tighten up our elections. And then lastly, I think we need to do better at candidate recruitment at the local level. These are races that, city council, county commissioner, even library commission at the lower, much lower level. These are spots that we need to fill with conservatives, because like Dr. Meyer said earlier, all politics is local, and it all starts at the local level. Lastly, I think we need to monitor our bills and make sure that they're bulletproof from those points of order that I talked about earlier from the Democrats. All of these things, I think I have the ability to do with my experience.
Thank you. Dana.
To try to summarize quickly, we've all talked about fundraising. There are many ways of doing that. I have put together a fundraising team for local, state, and federal level people that are experts in their field to help with that, but it also includes the grassroots donors as well. And I think we can pull them in with local events, again, going on that regional idea that I had already mentioned. The other thing that I'm going to put out there and have talked to some business owners about is basically business sponsorships of either events, websites, email systems, all those kinds of things. We have a lot of Republican companies in the state. We are not tapping into them and amplifying their business for them, and also getting something in return. And I think there have been a lot of people who are very interested in that idea. The other thing that I've been talking about now for over 2 years, and I've been actually doing it for probably 5 across the state, is making sure that our county chairs and our precinct chairs are trained. That will help us get our message out. People will be more willing to be involved when they know that the party is actually effective and showing up and suiting up and doing what they need to do, not only for their local elections, but also for the state and national elections. As far as election integrity is concerned, that's something that obviously anyone who's been following my information for the past 2 years plus, we've been working on extensively across the state, because without election integrity, all these other things that we're talking about and working on right now will not happen. Obviously, Texas is in play, and we are the prize that the Democrats want because of our 4 electoral votes. I did get us out of the ERIC system along with many others who worked on that bill, and then help advocate for it in the Capitol to make sure we were not sending our personal identifiable information to the left-leaning organizations to do voter roll registration using our info. There's also things that we need to do to be proactive, like banning ranked choice voting and making sure that only U.S. citizens are registered. And actually, one of the groups, I'm proud for my election integrity group that we went separate from the party because it was not necessarily a priority of the party at the time, to join the Only Citizens Vote Coalition, which was just launched recently in conjunction with Congressman Roy and Congressman Lee's SAVE Act. So there'll be a lot of national push on that, and that is something else that we can do to amplify our election integrity efforts in Texas, is bringing the national foundations into state to help us get the job done. As far as leadership, meetings with grassroots organizations and leaders from around the state, that is also something that we can do to strengthen the ties in the party and also amplify our message out and hear what they are concerned about and what they're working on. And then also having a liaison with legislative bodies so that we can talk about what our priorities are and start putting people in working groups early with them to hopefully cross that divide and get our priorities into legislation. I think that may be a big strike forward. Not only talking about it during the committees and convention, but actually creating a working team so that we can put them into the legislative offices to assist and make sure if something isn't going forward that we want really as a party, I think then we will know about it earlier instead of waiting many months for that to happen.
Thank you, Dana.
Sure.
Ben.
Thank you for the question. When you lack focus in business, you lose. And when you lose, you build complacency. And that's what we have right now in the RPT. We have complacency everywhere across the state. I live in Fort Bend County, and when we moved there 10 years ago, it was all red. And in just 10 short years, we lost the sheriff, the DA, the county judge. They redrew the boundaries of commissioner's court. And that wasn't because the people who were already involved didn't care and weren't fighting hard. It's because there's complacency across the broader constituency. The RPT, this last election cycle right now, when we had these nonpartisan races, endorsed across statewide in 27 of those races. We won 8 of them. 5 of them went to a runoff. Even if we win the runoffs, that's a losing record. We don't know how to win because we are unbelievably distracted. We must get focused on fundraising. When you raise money, then you can put it towards election integrity. You can put it towards get out the vote. You can put it towards all these various initiatives, and you'll build a culture of winning. And the way that you do that with fundraising is you have to have trust. Just like when you're running a public business and you need people to invest in you, you have to be transparent. You have to talk about where and how that money is going to be spent. You have to give donors an opportunity to designate and buy into your plan. You don't let them tell you what the plan is. That's not how it works. What you do is you say, here's the vision. Here's the approach. If you are excited and want to invest in election integrity, and by that in the short term, we need to hire a ton of legal teams. We all just heard about Laura Trump and the dollars that they brought into the RNC. And the first thing they did is they ramped up their legal counsels all across the country. We have to do the same thing here in Texas in the next 6 months. That's what we need to do. Getting focused on beating the Democrats will coalesce and bring everything together. So fundraising, election integrity, and having a bold vision and a plan that we can execute.
Thank you all. Thank you all for this time you've given us, and thank you for your willingness to serve. David, I believe you're going to do the closing.
Yes, so before we move into our closing statements, first of all, I want to thank everybody that listened on our live stream. We really appreciate you joining. In case candidates who have not been able to see this aren't aware, We've had people from over 12 Texas counties participating in this forum tonight. So we thank you for your interest in what's going on. We thank you for taking an active role in the governance of our party. It's so important going into this 24 election that we're united, we're working together to get our candidates reelected. I want to take time to thank a couple special people here as well. I was remiss to forget to mention Chairman Carol Procure of Bailey County, who helped us formulate our questions for tonight. Thank you, Chairman. I also want to once again thank SRAC Committeewoman Linda Hogue and my associate Clay Grossman, who are at Lubbock Party headquarters helping man that event over there. And many thanks again to my good friend Steve Evans, our SRAC committee man, who we'll see at the convention coming up. Thank you for your work running the back end and helping make this stream a great success. So without further ado, our random name generator has once again generated a random order of the candidates to answer questions. So, moving into our closing statements, I want each of you to take 1 minute to tell us how we can get a hold of you. The neat thing about the election for the RPT chairman is it's very grassroots driven. Unlike candidacies for governor, president, the delegates can reach out to each of you individually. So, with that, we'll be starting with Weston Martinez. Give us a final word and tell the people how they can get a hold of you, Weston.
You got it. You guys can go to westonworksforyou.com. You can reach out to my number at 210-215-8785. And you can we'll see you all across the state. We've been from El Paso to Texarkana and just everywhere. And we're so thankful for the people being out there. As we close this up, I want to just let you know, listen to what you heard. If we don't secure the elections, we're not going to secure the border. We're not going to beat George Soros. I'm the only guy talking about how we can end countywide voting now, how we can actually put term limits on the chair, and how we can go in there and make sure that we have fidelity back in our process and invest in our future by investing in you, the grassroots. That is how we win. And anything short of that, we will not get Donald Trump elected in November. So I want to thank you guys for being involved. Thank you for your vote, and look forward to seeing you in my hometown, San Antonio, home of the Alamo. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Dr. Dana Myers.
Thank you again for having us. For those of you who want to read more about what I've been doing for the past number of years in leadership positions, as well as the boots on the ground work, you can go to Dr. Dana, DANA, number 4tx.com. You can email me through that website, and many of you, I think, across the state of Texas already have my cell phone because it rings off the hook with questions. And if you don't, I bet you know somebody who has it. I think it's very important as we go into this very crucial election that we've talked about, that you look at the backgrounds of those of us who are running to not only see who's talking the talk, but who's actually done the job. We have many people who've run for office previously as candidates, legislative positions, whatever. That's great. What we need for Texas is somebody who has the proven leadership and the skills and has done these jobs, everything from getting out the vote to voter registration, training county chairs, precinct chairs, election workers, poll watchers, all those things that are probably the non-sexy part of the party that are really important, because this is what we have to do to build the volunteer army that we're going to need for November of 2024. And it's also someone who has to have a very in-depth knowledge of election integrity, which I do have, by the way, for those of you who may want to consider that your own personal venue. Many of us across the state have been working diligently to make sure that our elections are free, fair, and transparent, and that we have the people that we need ready to be poll watchers and election workers, as well as the war rooms that will encompass legal teams, people answering the phone, taking affidavits, all those things that we've been doing now for many years. So thank you very much for your time. Again, Dr. Dana, number 4tx.com, and you can call me if you need me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. And now we'll be moving on to Ben Armenta.
Well, thank you guys again for the opportunity to spend, I guess, a Friday evening. And, David called it a watch party. So I don't know if it's much of a party, but we do appreciate you guys coming together and learning about the vision and my vision for the Republican Party. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And I'm really praying that everybody continues their discernment process as you go through this leading up to to the election at convention, and to really think about who is it, when you look at these candidates, that you can trust in, that will be accessible, that will build transparency, that will not only be the right person to knock on doors and phone bank, but also to engage with donors all across the state and the country. Who is it that's gonna put a plan together and be bold and bring that bold leadership to every corner of Texas? You know, a few weeks ago, I spoke at a school board meeting, and I was advocating for Senate Bill 763, and 18 people spoke, and I was the only person that spoke in favor of it. And a week later, there's about 40 people that spoke, and about 10 that spoke in favor of it, but 4 of them were high school seniors. And one of them, she wrote me an email, and she said that she spoke because she heard me the week before. You know, it's a shame that people have to be courageous to be a conservative in Texas. We need bold leadership. We need a plan. And I am that outsider that will deliver that for the Republican Party. So I ask that you take a look at my website, benarmenta.com. I'm on X or Twitter. I'm on Facebook. You can call me, text me, let me know your thoughts and your ideas. I'm not trying to be the guy that has all the answers. I'm just trying to be the guy that's going to outwork everybody, especially the Democrats. So thank you guys. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. God bless you all. Take care.
Thank you, Ben. Abraham, tell the people how they can get a hold of you, sir.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you, David, Steve, Karen, and every one of you who showed up today on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening to spend time with us. We appreciate that. You can reach out to me through my cell phone. It is 469-569-0273. That's my personal cell phone number. You can go check out my website, and it is abrahamgeorge.com. Reach out to Steve if you want to. He's got my cell phone. He knows me well. And obviously now David has my cell phone as well. I think what differentiates me is I've done the things that many are talking about. I fundraised for the Republican Party. I block walked with my precinct chairs. I have built an army of volunteers who can be called upon any given second to block walk or phone bank or poll greet. We have passed resolutions that condemning Republican elected officials when they don't do their job. I've actually told one of my elected officials to keep his money. We don't need it because we're not up for sale. That's that's exactly what I told them. I'm not up for sale. So we need a leader for the Republican Party who will go and do the work and not talk about it every day and make a big deal about it, making videos about it. You need a workhorse, not a show horse. And that's what I'm willing to do. I can promise you this. I sleep about 4.5, 5 hours a day, and I'm up, and my business is practically running by itself by only hiring some really good conservative people, and they're doing a one hell of a job. So I am excited to serve you as the next chairman of the Republican Party, and I look forward to seeing you in San Antonio. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And last, we'll have Mike Garcia.
Yeah, like everyone said, thank you all so much for putting this together. It has been a very good pleasure. In closing, I just want to emphasize, right, we have to focus on November. We are 11 seats away from losing the House, and we've got to grow the party. And there's many different ways we can do that. We can attract young people. I'm blessed to have the endorsement of the Young Conservatives of Texas, young folks that I've worked with shoulder to shoulder over the years to pass conservative legislation. But we don't attract them by watering down our biblical values. Young people in general aren't attracted to that. They want stability. I've been endorsed by Texas Right to Life, one of the honors of my own life, just because the pro-life movement is so important to myself and my wife. I've been endorsed by various Tea Party groups that I've worked with over the years. So I think I'd like to emphasize that we don't win over people by abandoning those principles. We have to trust that God will give us the strength and the fortitude and the knowledge and the wisdom to win over those hearts and minds if we stick by him, but not if we abandon him. Joshua 1:9, Bible verse in my head today is, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God will be with you wherever you go. And I think we have to remember that. I certainly will not forget it as your chair. I would appreciate your all's vote. You can visit my website, GarciaForTexasGOP.com, or you can call me on my cell phone or text me at area code 512-645-6978. Looking forward to seeing all of you at convention. Thank you.
Thank you again to all the candidates for participating tonight and for your willingness to serve our party. I think there's one thing we can all agree on. No matter who wins this chairmanship race, we all as Republicans need to come behind them and support them as they work to keep Texas red, get President Trump reelected, and reelect Senator Cruz. Thank you all for joining our stream, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.